Hey guys, today we're done with HTML and we're starting CSS. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. And what CSS does is basically it makes you able to edit a lot of stuff all at once without having to do a whole lot more. It saves you work and it's actually more powerful and makes things look better too. Today we're only doing the basics. We'll get to that more advanced stuff in a later lesson. So the first thing that we're going to start with is, well, first you should know, really, there are several ways of doing CSS. There are internal style sheets, which means that in this HTML file, you're going to be editing that. We're not doing that. We're doing an external style sheet, which means that we're going to have a separate file. Now, I installed a new program on your computers called gedit, G-E-D-I-T, and it's going to make things a little bit more simple to have multiple windows open because it's got tabbed files. So when you open gedit on your computer, you can see my computer is a little different than yours. I've got a different desktop than you do. What you're going to do is you're going to go to that main menu where the Raspberry Pi is, go to Accessories, and then gedit should be in there. It's got a pencil icon next to it. When you open gedit, you should open your preferences. Make sure your preferences look like mine. You want to display the line numbers. That's just very helpful. Display the status bar. Enable text wrapping and do not split words over two lines. That's good. The editor, make sure your tab width is 4 spaces. Insert spaces instead of tabs. And enable automatic indentation. That's just good, solid settings. You can change it based off of what you're going to do with it, but for now, let's just leave it as is. All right, so the first thing that you were going to do is you should know that HTML always overrides your CSS code. So what we want to do actually is get rid of all of our HTML styling. So we're going to start deleting all this stuff with style in it, all right? So I'm going to select that and delete it. Make sure you don't have that space right there between the body and the angle bracket. So it should always be flush. There should never be a space. So I'm deleting all of this style stuff here. Do I have any more? Yes, I do. I've got one more right there. So now I've got no style elements in my HTML code. And I want to save this, but when you save this, be careful because I want to see your HTML styled stuff. So what you're going to do is on your computers, save as, click save as, and save it as webpage2.html. I don't know if you can see this. So you're going to save it as webpage2.html. I'm not going to do this because mine's working a little differently. All right, so I'm just going to hit save. So this is how basically how your web page looks right now in the HTML code. The difference is that I've only got one paragraph. I've got 2 headers, but you should have 2 paragraphs. You should have a picture in there and all sorts of other cool stuff. All right, so after you get that done, what you're going to do is you're going to create a CSS file. So you click this tab up here, and this tab you can see you can click between different things. Now I already have a CSS file and I'll show it to you in just a moment, but for you to get started, you click that tab, click over here, it says Untitled Document 1, so you're going to hit save, and again, you want to save it as something like mystyle.css. But I already have that there. You can see it right there. So I'll hit cancel. Cancel. And you'll have a new file in this tab called mystyle.css. Now, the last thing that you need to do is you need to make sure that these two things are linked. So in between the head tags, so really right before the title tag, you're going to have a new link. So that means that this HTML file will know to link to your style sheet, your cascading style sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that link in there. So I have angle bracket link href equals my style.css, and I have rel style sheet type equals text/css. And there, I'm going to save that. Now I've got a link to that style sheet in my CSS code, in my HTML code, so the HTML knows to link to that style sheet. So let me go back to that style sheet, and we can see that I've got my body tag, my H1 tag, my H3 tag, my P tag. These should look familiar. They are familiar. You should also notice that we're using the curly brackets instead of the angle brackets. That's one of the key things in CSS. So I've got my background color pink. So that's not a big deal. That's not very different than what we saw before. But here's where it comes in for now, is this H1, H3, and P tags. My H1, it says color navy, margin left is 20 pixels. So that means that whenever I have an H1 tag, I'll have it as navy, and it will be indented 20 pixels. Now that was different than before, that each time we made an H1 tag, we would have to style it the way that we wanted to. That's one of the powerful things about CSS, is that you only need to do this once, and then all H1 tags from here on out will be navy and indented 20 pixels. Same thing, H3 will be yellow. Same thing with P. It will always be red, and it will always be 30 pixels indented. All right, so last thing is you're going to try, I want you to make your HTML file look the same as it did before, as much as possible. If you had different colors for your P tags or your H1 tags or your H3 tags, I understand if it's going to be different, but you're going to make your file look as much as the same as it did before using your CSS styling instead of HTML styling. All right, good luck.